Welcome back to my channel. Today, we're going to be talking about a new Shudder release, Anything for Jackson. Before we begin, let me know in the comments if you were looking forward to this, or what your thoughts were if you've seen it already. And make sure to give this a thumbs up if you like these reviews. It helps me out immensely if you do that. Also, if you're new here and you like movies, please consider hitting that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with reviews of new releases and some classics. But now, let's jump right into it. This stars Sheila, McCarthy, and Julian Richings as the Walshes, a bereaved Satanist couple who kidnap a pregnant woman named Shannon, played by Konstantina Mantelos, so they can use an ancient spell book to put their dead grandson's spirit into her unborn child. However, they end up summoning much more than they bargained for, and all three of them find themselves tormented by something sinister. This is directed by Justin G. Dick and is written by Keith Cooper, neither of whom I'm familiar with, but I looked up their filmographies. They apparently work together often, and have actually made a ton of made-for-TV movies together, especially made-for-TV Christmas movies. I haven't heard of any of them, unfortunately, but this definitely seems like a huge change of pace for both of them. This is a film that centers around grief, and taking it to an extreme. This couple, despite their terrible doings, are very family-oriented, and that's what motivates a lot of their actions here. They're set in their ways and are willing to do whatever it takes to get their family back together. And despite these being two characters I can't particularly root for, I found them to be fascinating. I can kinda get where they're coming from, even though I'm not hoping things work out for them, given who they are and what they're trying to do. But both the Walshes are actually really well-written characters, because what I enjoyed most about them is that they're very calculating in the way they think things out, and as I said, they're very firm in their convictions, but they're not portrayed in the way you see most characters with their intentions are portrayed. Like, they're not necessarily portrayed as your typical fanatics whose eyes are about to pop out of their heads and everything they say is in this cartoonishly evil voice. Like I said, they are firm in their convictions, but they're also otherwise portrayed as your typical nice, sweeter, older couple. Like, if someone says a bad word or just a word they don't like, they say in this very gentle voice, "Oh no, we don't say that." And they retain their same personalities when they're trying to appear normal, as well as when they're about to do something bad. And if you are an outsider looking in with no clue as to what they're really up to, they come off as the sort of people who you wouldn't think in a million years could do something as terrible as they do. And they're surprisingly very convincing about all this, which was why I was fascinated with them. I think it makes them even more terrifying than they actually are, because they put on such a seamless charade, especially for the amount of thought they put into their plans. You sometimes don't know if what they're saying is genuine or part of an act. And that makes for some truly compelling villains, though you also have a solid protagonist in Shannon as well. She isn't written as strongly, but you do get to find out a little about her that you do get to root for her, especially in some relevant flashbacks. As for the story itself, it's pretty much a mix of Rosemary's Baby and The Exorcist, and it ends up being an absolutely wild ride. What I especially like about this too, and this isn't so much a spoiler as it's in the plot description, but it's that what they end up summoning isn't something that they're controlling. The Walshes are definitely antagonists, but they serve more as secondary antagonists compared to what they wind up summoning when they attempt to perform this reverse exorcism. It ends up haunting both Shannon and the Walshes, and I think it adds a little more to the fun. I think if this was strictly just Shannon versus the Waltons and this thing, it would become a little one note pretty quickly. So we get a lot of well done sequences of all these characters getting haunted by these mysterious visions, and we'll get some really creepy imagery here with this creature taking on various forms, almost in the vein of what Pennywise does in the It movies, and none of it's even done as a jump scare. Even when something does suddenly appear, it's not accompanied by that loud jolting noise you hear for a split second. The effects all look great, while the shot composure was really well done. They'll play with depth at times, with something being in the background and we may not realize it right away. Most of the shots will get these creepy images, there'll be these tight close-ups, and it'll give the film this claustrophobic sort of feel. Plus the soundtrack was on point, and it was all very frightening stuff. For the most part, this movie was consistently intense. And something done that I also thought was cool is each of these characters will experience something, but if two characters are in the same room, there will be times where one character only sees something and the other character doesn't. But then a scene later, it'll then be that other character experiencing something and someone else doesn't, or at times it'll be all of them. And it just adds to the psychological aspect of this film. There are times where they think there's another character in the room with them, and that may actually not end up being the case. It'll cause them to second guess what they do, or mess with their thought process, so it keeps you guessing at all times. And regarding negatives, I don't have too many. Like I said, Shannon isn't exactly the strongest character here. She's someone who's confined to a bed for most of the time we see her, not including flashbacks, but she's not totally one-dimensional, and given the circumstances, there's only so much you can do with her character, and they give us enough that we like rooting for her, and as I said, it was fine for the most part. But you also have to keep in mind that the focus is mainly on this older couple who we're not supposed to be rooting for, so there's that. at times she'll be somewhat sidelined. And the only other thing is, there's definitely a lull in the middle. The second act as a whole isn't bad, but it's definitely a bit weaker compared to the first and third acts. There's just one point where there's this sort of, well, now what do we do moment, where the characters have to wait around a little. I won't spoil what's for, but I just think it could have tightened things up slightly in that second act. But these are all minor criticisms, because honestly, I was engaged for nearly all the movie, and none of this took away from my enjoyment of the film. Overall, this is a really well done horror film and another great addition to Shudder's catalog. It's consistently frightening with a lot of creepy imagery and an interesting twist on both Rosemary's Baby and The Exorcist. And we also get two really well done antagonists with the Walshes, and the dynamics among all these characters is one that you don't see all too often in these sort of films. It's a chilling, thrilling, and an exciting experience that makes for one of the year's better horror movies. Anything for Jackson gets an 8.5 out of 10. So let me know, did you see anything for Jackson, or are you planning to see it, and what were your thoughts? Did you find it scary? Did you like the writing? And what's your favorite movie on Shudder if you have it? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it, and for more movie reviews and film discussion, please make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated. Thanks for watching everyone, and I'll catch you next time.